Okay, well, good morning, this wonderful Saturday morning. Well, at least it's Saturday morning here. So for me, I know most of you are out there in the Eastern Midwest, and you've already turned the corner, had lunch, and you're ready for the rest of the day. Me, I still have that little bit ahead of me. My name is Robert Force, and what we're going to be talking about today is over the period of almost 60 years of playing the music on the dulcimer. Um, there's certain things I ended up doing that I decided that, well, how do I kind of look at what I'm doing and extract some of those pieces that I just don't think about anymore? They show up in all of my songs. Uh, and like everything, like a good technique. So this was called tips and techniques. Basically, just looking at the kind of little things a person can do on the instrument. These little tasteful things that can be added now and again. You don't want a whole tune based on them, but as you go through your playing, a little arpeggio here, a little hammer on there, a little harmonic in one spot. I mean, all these little different tasty things that I think that the dulcimer is actually particularly keen on being able to do. And I think one of the reasons is the simplicity of our instrument adds this sound of contradiction, but it adds a unique complexity at the same time because what we do stands out so much more. So with that in mind, and I'm going to start right off, but before I get into this, I have a little array of things I want to talk to people about, and it's not part of what I landed out as techniques, but I want to talk about the picks. I mean, some of it can be finger picking and so on like that, but I want to talk about picks. You know, picks can make a whole lot of difference. So these days, I'm playing with a pick, and this is about 88 millimeters in diameter. It's semi-stiff. I can bend it just a little bit, but not so much. I kind of like this one. Okay, a lot of people out there in the dulcimer world are playing with this Herdem pick. I was very excited when I discovered the Herdem pick in Germany in 1971. So much that I brought a whole bunch of them back with me. It's oh, exciting, exciting. But in the end, it took just less than a couple of years before I just threw it away because number one, no matter what you do to it, it is just too thin. And they say, well, this is a thick edge and that's a thin edge, and this little piece here will remind you which end is doing what. I don't know how you're doing, but when I'm playing music, I certainly can't remember which end of the pick is being faced down. And this is an important thing that I want to get into because as you're playing some of the techniques I'm going to show you, as your pick passes a string and it does this, you've lost the ability to pop that string. Take a real stiff pick like this. Okay, put my head where you can see. Okay, take a stiff pick like that, and when I try to bend it, it doesn't bend. So where does the bend come from? The bend comes from learning to hold your pick lightly enough so that as it passes over the string, it's I gotta get a little profile here. As you pass over the string, it's the fingers giving it in your hand. But if you squeeze, boom, there it is. So when you want a string to pop out, like bing a ding a ding a ding, you can't get a bing a dink a dink out of out of a pick that has no stiffness. Okay, and you can graduate. If you're working on a thin pick, thin picks are really great. You go strumming along, it's so easy to do, but it's also just sounds terrible. And that's why when you walk into a room with 50 dulcimer players, it sounds like a giant bee trying to get off the ground. Because all these flappy, you're hearing more pick noise and drone noise than anything else. And so this class is really about, okay, I've used this analogy before, but it's so appropriate. It's called the tetherball analogy. All right, you go to the playground, and we all kind of maybe grew up through this, and there's always those kids on the treadmill that say, "Let's play tetherball," and then bam, 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 the ball, and it never comes down to your side. You, you can't get there. So I'm using that, extend that analogy to playing music, is that there's people going to go, it's like, okay, where is the movement? Where is the breath? And if you let it come up and a note goes up and around and then fades, and then you give it another smack. And so this idea of not trying to be on top of every beat, but being able to do these articulate fills and vamps and dampenings and other things that keep your voice into the music that's being created, but you don't need another person just wanging away indiscriminately on the strings. Okay, one more thing. This one here is a actual no, not from an endangered tortoise, but this is back in the 20s. Tortoiseshell picks were considered just amazing, and it's hard for me to show you, or I hope we can hear some of it. If I pass over the string with a tortoiseshell type pick, I'm getting less of the, it'll be really hard to hear. The him is kind of bright and tinny, and the tortoise kind of sucks up some of that sound. So anyway, don't be afraid to go out and check with different picks. Many of you probably, oh, this is a pick, it's good enough, I can play along, it feels good. And here is my my paraphrasing of Teddy Roosevelt, okay, and that is, play softly, but carry a thick pick, okay?
Carry a thick pick.
Okay, so check out.
88 is not all that thick anyway.
Oh, and some of your finger pickers and so on, and you've got your finger, you can.
He's like, I don't know if we're even going to need to play on this baby.
There's lots to do, but every now and again. So right now, this class is going to be focused on pick techniques and a bit on rhythm and those elements that have not only stood me in good stead, but in some sense have sort of branded my style of playing, and fortunately enough have helped other people in that direction as well. So first thing I'm going to look at is the moving bar. And the moving bar is nothing more than being able to bar the entire instrument at any place you want to be, okay? Now, it's kind of interesting. You'll notice that my dulcimer, there are no extra frets on it. I've for the last 60 some years, I've always played without the extra frets. And one of the reasons I actually started playing the dulcimer before they started putting their extra frets on it. And when they finally came, like, well, I can already do that. I don't need an extra fret down here to get that other note that I need. So I just have never done that. I have no quarrel with those that are putting it on there. It certainly helps you do certain things. So the one thing I found that for me is that I do a lot of sliding. When I do that, I can hear the notes that I think shouldn't be there. They're not part of the ad-oxal octave when I'm doing that slide. So I've managed to get this far by leaving them off. Okay, the moving bar also has some of you, many of you probably, because the other thing I don't do is I don't use the capo. There's G, there's A, there's C, and the rest of you are going, okay, tighten it up. And what I really didn't like about that, is I lose all those notes. I want those notes to be part of my song, So anyway, that's me. That's big hands and a dulcimer. The moving bar. Okay, we're going to use that tune Wellyn, the very first example I gave you, and let's say the entirety of all these tunes is out on the robertforce.com for free website, and so I just excerpted some of these so that step into where we're going to be right now. Okay, so what we're going to do with Wellyn is basically, Wellyn is two things at once. It is a hammer-on and a bar. Okay, let's try that. You're going to open strum, and and just bring your whole fingers, all your fingers down on one full, no matter how you do it. It's really hard to do it's hard to do bars with just your fingertips, but so we're going to open. We're hammering onto that 1 1 1. We're sliding the whole thing to the 3 3, and then going to that D chord, which is the 2 3 4. So let's just I know you've probably played Wellyn 100 times, and we're just going to use this once again. These are examples. I'm not trying to teach you the tune. We're just going to look at how it works here. Let's see if I'm very good. So da do bum ba da do bum ba slide da do bum ba da do bum ba. Now why the slide? I just adds once again this little fill. You can just leave it alone and just jump to the next chord. And maybe if your fingers are getting tired, you don't want that. Oh, I hear some people turn off your.
Is that kind of what he's doing?
Somewhere you have a mute thing.
What?
I can mute.
You don't have to do it with one finger. You can do the regular bar chord with like 3 fingers, like you might want. Yeah, just hammer on with all 3 fingers.
You've got your audio turned on, so let's see if we can turn it off right now.
Why are you strumming twice?
Okay.
He's going on to another. He's strumming open. Okay.
There you go.
I'm not.
Okay, so basically that's the introduction to the bar, and you're also going to see that part at the end where it goes. So that's all bar, and it can only be accomplished by hitting all those strings. And once again, it's hard to do it as a fingertip chord. So let's see if I have anything else to say about bar. Oh yeah. So as I'm playing a tune, and I'll be going up and doing something, and maybe I'm up here in the G, and I can, by barring it back here, I have the entire tone, even though I'm tuned to D, I have all of G available to me if I keep barred. Okay, so I never left because I had that bar, and whenever that bar was there, that meant that all my free-ranging fingers could add all the little filigrees and embellishments and anything else I wanted. And if I went to the next point, okay, so just getting the idea in mind that not only is a bar an effective tool for adding power to your tune, it's also an effective posting device. If I'm posting, why? Because I got that bar held down there. Okay, so questions on the moving bar. I know some of you still got we're gonna have to play on and off with our switches here, but okay. So fundamental idea. So we're gonna take what I call the Portland vamp, and it shows up in the tune that I adapted out of Norman Blake. It's called the Portland vamp because the original tune that we wrote that included this, and I did that in the concert last night, is called Slow Train to Georgia. And now that I have Norman Blake's permission to talk about and play that song, I can actually call Slow Train to Georgia because it shows up so well in that song because it's got that same Wellyn. Now this time you do need that slide. Can you hear it? Ba-do-dum, 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 ba-do-dum. And this also introduces the idea of the vamp. What's a vamp? A vamp is a repetitive something that when it comes around, I think a lot of you might have, you that had grown up on the Detroit sound. That's when those horns come in and go da 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 da. That's a vamp. It's just coming in. It's kind of extraneous to the melody. It's just a little tasty thing that you're throwing in. So in this case, it's open, hammer down, slide up, and da da da. Now let's put it in context, because we talked already about sliding up to that G, but now I'm in the G, I have a post. And when I say post, flat up leap or flat on the lap, but when I'm posting, I'm actually got the back side of my hand, where is it? Get that? See, the back side of my hand is actually like a guitar. You think a guitar player is holding it like that and they're gripping on the back. I'm doing the same thing. I'm gripping on the back of my instrument. So it's maybe hard to see, like, because people are playing down like this, but for me, when I'm playing down, I'm playing here, I'm posting, and I'm actually moving my hand, you know, the thumb is anchored, and that gives me a little bit more latitude to get to the places I need to. When I come all the way up the scale, sure, my thumb comes here and ends up posting, in a sense, on the side of the instrument, but the same sort of thing is happening. I've created a pivot point so that as I play, I have the ability to do that range and not just be kind of free floating trying to get to the notes that I need. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of that Portland vamp and then add that G and see how that works into the song. So you've got now I'm posting. So my C chord is actually made out of that posted G chord. Okay, so my C is available here, my G is available here, my D is one slide down, my G modal is there. So once again, the arranging that I'm getting without having to just sort of leap into the song and find that spot. So one more time on the Portland vamp, the slow train, as it became to be called. Ba-da-doo-da-da, ba-da-doo-da-da. Here we go. We got G, 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 D, G, post and what you see, and that G and that D. We got that post on that C, the post on the G. I'll move my finger out of the way. So I gotta, there's my C, and then I'm gonna just tuck this finger out of the way so you don't see it. Mostly be hovering above it. Hovering above, waiting to make the next note, because as I slide down to my D, that finger's going to have to come down and be there. Yes. So, okay, let's go shred this. Hammer-ons and the slides and so on. Okay, this one is going to take you a while. This next one is called the Dulcimer roll. Now, the Dulcimer roll is named after a banjo technique. And the banjo technique is that when they're playing the banjo, they're just simply rolling the line instead of picking an individual note out. If I called it flat picking would be, you know, where I'm actually picking every individual note. At the same time, I'm putting my pick here, and a flat picking, I am making the notes. A Dulcimer roll, and the one that I know, I guess I've been doing it for so long, I can't remember how long I've done it. But, you know, it's kind of like that tetherball thing. I wanted something to be able to be happening without having to strum. And so the dulcimer roll is simply, simply, he said simply, did he actually say simply? Yes, he did. Okay, simply is that, we're gonna go, okay, the first string is picked away from you. The bass or third string is picked toward you. And then the middle string is picked toward you. So you have this roll, your hand is going like this. I'll put them on the strings now. Everybody try that. Away up, up, away up, up, away up, up. Okay, so how does that work? Many, many years ago, in my musical naivete and lack of true musical education, I called it arpeggio picking. Okay, and then somebody at one point said, "Well, that's just the plain old banjo roll you're doing." Arpeggio picking, what an arpeggio is when you take a chord and you just voice the individual elements of the chord. Simple. Fancy name. Oh, those Italians are good for that, huh? So there's a chord. There's an arpeggiated chord. Here is that same chord with the roll put into it. But I changed nothing with the right hand. The right hand was doing the same thing over and over and over again, and that was staying in that pattern of 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2. But in a roll, now that's why the roll, look at the hand's going. That's what you're seeing. It's just rolling through there. It's not doing this. It's rolling through that thing. And what's cool about that is that means in the middle, the dulcimer, most of you have a 3-string arrangement with doubled here or doubled there. Some of you are in 4-string, doesn't matter. But the concept is that watch the hand. And let's see. I can be in this pattern. Let's get back here, we can see it. I'm in that pattern, and I'm going to switch to a strum. In other words, there's no movement between this and this, so that as you transition, and you hear it in the context of a tune, let's say I'm doing that slow train thing I did last night where I'm going, power chords. Here's that C. So I'm going to do it one more time, and this time I'll do it and listen for the railroad crossing of those things coming down. It's like, once again, I'm just in that C, but by bringing it up to that volume, I can make the sound of the railroad crossing barricades coming down, and that ding, 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 that says, hey, don't drive across the tracks. Not yet. So, think-a-da. So let's gonna try that really slowly, and let's do it on a G because it's a little easier to hold on to. So we're gonna hold on to the G, and here's our G right there as we're doing a 3, 3, 5, and now Now reverse it. Now do a 5-3-3. So the idea is that when you can reverse the root tone on your instrument, you know, with no effort at all, no key change at all, no chord change at all, just a picking pattern and a simple inversion, all of a sudden you've created a new sound. Let's do it with D, because D is a little easy, because then you can just pivot one way, go the other way, go this way, go that way, go this way. So it's like, whoa. So everybody else is going, jan, 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 and you get up there and you're just doing this. All of a sudden, this little angelic, and one of you told me you were playing with 2 harps. Okay, like just elbow those harp players out of the way and say, I can do that. You find another part. This part's for me. There's a tune, I don't think I put it in here, or maybe I did. Let me just look quickly. No. So it's called Conversations with the River. And what I'm going to do is show you, basically it's a D chord, but when you go up to this the C above, and you start making those tones, you want to get away from the lilt and repetitiveness of the strum, but you're using that strum pattern to set up what you're going to do. That's your dun, da, 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 da. But then what I discovered on this particular song was that I could go to my B part, and the first time through I could do that roll, and the second time too I could do then just coming up, you see, and letting the dulcimer ring out, and so the contrast between them creates let's make up words, artistic tension, or rather a tone color, you know, and you haven't once again done, you're not doing much. I want to make sure I'm really clear on that. These techniques are not something you just sort of add in. They're sort of like just you reach into your bag and you're in the same place you were, but you want to amplify it, illuminate it, move it forward a little bit. So this tune starts off easy. It's so easy. There's a 7th to make it turn around, and back to the 1. Now we're going to go to the bridge. I'm going to do that again. So I've got I have to go back to the beginning. So. I'll reverse it. So by going from the strum to that articulated roll, the arpeggial roll, and then, you know, adding the little embellishments like just coming up on all the strings, letting them you're still in that meter, you're still in that time frame where the rest of the band They don't have to worry where you're coming down from. You're still in that, except that in that little space, you get to embellish that. So just for the fun of it, try picking on that top. Where are we at? Is it a D, a C? I don't know. We'll just call it there's a 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a 10, a 10, and an 8, and a 7. It's really cute, really tinkly. And then slide the whole thing down to that 866. And just do between those two notes. Throw in some strums. So my caveat is I'm not trying to teach you this stuff, and obviously with the classes we're going to cover a lot of ground and just look at the techniques, but I want you to be aware, that's why the song examples are there, of where to look for it. What is he doing what he said he was doing right here, so that you know, you don't have to go out and learn any of my tunes, but just the example simply says, okay, this is what he's doing. And so that when you find that place, and I still like the term arpeggiating. To me, it's more active, and that's the dulcimer roll. I've arpeggiated that. I've turned every one of those chords into little tinkly somethings, and by jumping back and forth, I mean, that'll even show up in just a regular song like the beginning of Slow Train, where I'm going. I could be doing this. Or this. Okay, so I just find that sometimes I'm doing it, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes the feel that the song wants to breathe and just takes it out of that chunky bang, 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 and just gives it a chance to breathe in the middle there. Okay, let's see what we got here. The flashing barricade effect. Okay, let's try that. Going to hold that C. We're going to be at a 6, and a 4, and a 3. And you'll know you have this technique down when you can actually make it sound like it. I can do. That's not what's happening. It's doing this. Anyway, so that's technique, that's speed, that's thousands of miles of just thousands of miles of smiles, you know, where you get better and better at something, and you fold the new techniques in a way that makes sense for you. And so, all right, let's take a look at something else. Are any questions? We just we kind of went through the first 3-4 things, the moving bar, and looked at it as well, and we looked at it as a hammer-on when we looked at that Portland vamp part, and then we now just looked at the dulcimer roll, and then in a sense we also stepped a little bit into the alternating the melodic string courses, and alternating that is just simply, you know, reversing your, and instead of playing a song like one of the songs I did last night, the last one, what I love about that song is it's so simple that how do you create nuance in a song so simple? Well, the idea is that when I came down, I crossed over to the bass string and then carried the rest of the melody on the bass. So Good night, my dear sister. Won't you play and pick? Okay. First it was like picking it. Strum, pick, strum. Go to the bass. Okay, so coming down, you get a little picking, a little bit of strumming, and then when you get down to the bottom, you cross over to the pick and then back to the strum. And that simple song, which is nothing more, that's it, but it's so by taking a simple song and adding 3 elements to it, combining that arpeggiated dulcimer roll with minimal amount of strumming and using that strumming to accent, you know, and you get that the forte, the fortissimo, the moment of epiphany, you know, that the strum just comes in like that, and then by stepping over to the bass side and inverting the chord, all of a sudden you're, I think bass tones are a little warmer, right? You step a little closer to the human spirit. At least I try to do that. My concept of a song like that, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, I had to add to the bottom of my notes down here is that about hammering on. Everybody knows how to hammer on. Everybody does hammer on. You start doing hammering on, you know, 5 seconds into Oh Joe Clark, you're already hammering on. I get that. I know that. But what you probably didn't see that was going on here, well, this was hammering on too. Pulling off. Okay, here's a wonderful exercise for you. Play your dulcimer without the right hand. Play your dulcimer without the right hand. Because that's what your other fingers can be doing while the strumming is going on. It's like you don't have to play the actual note that your fingers are moving to. Your fingers can do that by themselves. So okay, and that may actually address for you action. Now, for me, I play a very low action instrument. Low action means that if I put my pick, you know, my pick barely wants to, where's it going to stick? Going to stick right there. Okay, so my clearance at my first fret is exactly a little less than 88 millimeters. Okay, and you can say, you take a look at that, because here's the deal on your strings. Now, a taller string, or one that's the triangulation of the bridge is higher, okay, it's going to be compensated for all these frets, because remember, your dulcimer or any instrument is laid out in such a way that your frets are put in the sense in a zero relationship from here to here. Any height you put to here creates a triangle, and that triangle is going to mess with your intonation unless you have an articulated bridge that is articulated in such a way that some of the bass and the trebles and those strings are compensated for with themselves. If it's too high, it's hard to play certain notes, but the advantage is, like bluegrass players have really high action because it's louder. You can make it louder by having a higher action, but by having a lower action, you get access to all these play that. So I adjure you, you know, to have fun with it. Just it's like the tetherball. Hit it once and then. Okay, because those little pull-offs and things that you do are going to show up in your song when you've done your strum. So tetherball, only hit it where you need to and let the rest roll on through. Okay, articulated strings, playing without strumming. Okay, here we go. Now, why did I did this? Oh, syncopated grace notes to a 3-stop chord. Okay. So the idea that we're out of that bar position, or actually any position you find yourself in. Okay, I'm going to backtrack just a little bit and go to the Bob Force affirmative side. Everything is possible from any way you want to do it. Okay, it really is. So, I mean, I have a technique and I've learned these things and I can develop them and I can identify how it is I do them. But how you internalize and says, oh, you're listening. Oh, this is I want that sound. All right, he did that. My hands aren't big enough. My dulcimer's long enough. I can do it this way. So what we're doing here is we're listening for the sound. What is that piece? What is that part that I can grab a hold of and incorporate? And I could maybe try the way he's doing it, but that is not necessarily the way you need to do it, or the way that your hands are set up to do it, or even that your instrument is set up to do. So everything is possible. There it is. There's my statement. Everything is possible. Oh, look, I already did Goodnight, My Dear Sister. Okay, let's see what I wanted. Mudbug. Okay. Okay. Syncopated notes, grace notes. Oh. I'm going to actually switch to a different song just because it's easier and it's in my mind right now rather than Mudbug Boogie. And that's a song I wrote for my granddaughter called Molly's Song. So Molly's Song goes. That's part of the melody. That's why I never usually try to teach it to anybody, because it's a simple technique at some point, but for others, pretty difficult. I'm in the garden with my son's daughter. Try that G and just pull off those. Da-da, dee-da, dee-da, da-da, da-da-da. Standing in the garden with my son's daughter, talking to the pumpkins, giving them water, water, water. Standing in the garden with my son's daughter, talking to the pumpkins, giving them water. And picking strawberries fresh from the vine, one's for you and the other one's mine. Standing in the garden with my son's daughter, talking to the pumpkins, giving them water, 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 dee-da-da-da. So in that case, the actual pull-offs are part of the melody line, and you can't strum them, or you in my mind, you break the fragility of the tune. So you find another way to voice them without having to bang your way through them. Okay, Goodnight, My Dear Sister. We talked about the the other aspect of the dulcimer is that a lot of people sort of gravitate toward this 3-string, 3 chords, 4-string, 4 chords, 4 notes that make a chord. But I wanted to underscore again with Goodnight, My Dear Sister, that what the dulcimer can do, it can do in scarcity what other instruments have a hard time even understanding. you go to a guitar player. I've played this tune with my friend Dobby, and he's a guitar player. And I get to the part of the tune, he says, that's a C, and that's a C, and that's a C. And he's kind of stuck in his guitar playing. And I said, yeah, but they're different C's. You know, they sound different. And so a guitar player, in his case, maybe a great guitar player can leave the things out, but as so this is a C, and so is that one. It's like, okay, if I had a great musical background in theory, I could say, well, that's a C sus 4/3 with, and I think Steve Seifert, in fact, Steve Seifert and Butch Ross and I got into a long conversation with what you actually call this. When you're at an 8/6/6, it's a C of sorts, except that there's not really a lot of other information there, and so I think they ended up calling it like a C6 something or other. Anyway, Steve is the musical genius in that way, and so just trying to find out when you're talking to another player, what do you call those chords? And I've spent hours just doing, well, it sounds like this. And the guitar player is doing this and this and this and this, and trying to find out where that note lies. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is the simplicity of the two-stop chord. Okay, so anyway, I don't need to play that again and again. I just want to make sure that I've covered it. And a good example of this is the tune that my partner of all those many years ago, now gone from this planet, Al Dache, in his tune Cornwall. And in the Cornwall, he's using the double stop chord here. And he's doing the double stop chord, and he's actually initially finger picked this for those finger pickers out there. It is a lovely tune for finger picking. So it sounds like this, and I think we've got that written down in such a way, and we can do a little piece of it to make sure that we're doing it. He's starting off with I love the way that middle string. Okay, if it maybe took me years. I used to think, oh, the middle string is weak, but actually, it's a very strong string. Here it comes. Oh, wait a minute. Inside any chord structure, there is always a harmonic. Wow. Well, if you haven't played with harmonics, I mean, everybody does the easy one. Da 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 da. They get that one right there in the middle. And that's the end of the song. But harmonics, and this, I'm kind of jumping way down toward the end, but I want to make sure that you know that harmonics everywhere. And everything that's down here, and a lot of people do this. And they get up here, and to me, it's really hard to find it because you kind of don't have any reference. But your dulcimer is a mirror. That's your first harmonic. All the other ones occur in sets, going in the other direction. So this one going the other way, you've got, and this way. Okay, they exist both ways. And so in the middle, And once again, these little techniques are like lickings of the cat. Just, you know, if you do it a lot, it's just they get repetitive, they get boring. But you throw it in once, and people, what was that? What was that? And Albert did that when he wrote this tune some 50 years ago. He just put in that one harmonic in that one place. He went da da dee dee da 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 dee da 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 da. And you have to touch it light. It's not da, 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 you know, it's that touch that you go through and you ever so lightly state it. So the section on harmonics I want to say is they are everywhere, and you can play an entire song on them. And the way that I learned it, here's how I learned to find them. I started a pattern where I would swing my hand back from side to side like. So, because obviously when you get down to this last little part, you got about 3 or 4 harmonics that are existing within like a 1/4 inch of each other. And so getting that muscle memory, almost got it. Yeah, I got it. You know, and you're not going to use it a lot. You may be using it to entertain yourself. You may be using it to flash some people at the end, but it's a lot better. Dun, 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 dun. It's like find your way to the end of the song in a slightly more interesting and creative ways. Okay, we're going to take a look at the tune Rubens Train. So in the last part of Rubens Train, hang on, I can point to it if I do it this way. Okay, Swannanoa Tunnel and Rubens Train is page 24 of this book. So if I go down to here, okay, on Rubens Train, page 27 down here, and if you printed it out, the only thing we're going to be looking at is this one little stanza right here, because this is a written out syncopation. And then rather trying to explain, and I have had 2 whole classes on syncopation, but for the purpose of the techniques, the idea of syncopation is, if in most music we got dun 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 dun, used to live in the country and now I live in town. Okay, but actually what's happening is going, used to live in the country, now I live in town. So if you think this is 1 and this is 180, that means that there are 358 other places to play. Used to live in the country, now I live in, staying at that big hotel. Okay, so the idea is that syncopation is the way to step out of the 180 rhythm box. You're still in it. I mean, you're in the same boat. You're rowing the same boat of song, but in that process, you can add and embellish and play counter to the melody that fits inside the melody, and do so in such a way that literally only your voice is out there.
That's right. I do that all the time.
And you think a lot about that as like as well in the jazz world. You know, everybody's going okay, so how do you get there? How do you find that syncopation? Well, it's written out in the middle of a very straightforward Appalachian folk tune. When I was playing that tune, at some point we got Reuben got himself a train and he put it on. You can hear his whistle blow 500 miles. And it's oh me, oh my, Reuben, where you been so long? And oh my, Reuben, where you been so long? As I get to the end of that, I wouldn't like to say necessarily that I'm bored, but I do like to say that I found it just a great spot to like, just jump in there with some sort of finale. And so what's written out there is a way to find the actual sound of syncopation in the context of an Appalachian standard tune. So you can, first you hear it, and then you can start looking abroad to the Caribbean and Latin influences and other things that whose main way they put together a song is based on that syncopation, or just being counter to the rhythm or off of the beat. Okay, and I've told this story in some of my classes, and I'll tell it one more time. I once went to a festival, and I was required to sit in the room with 50 dulcimer players and 15 hammer dulcimer players. And it's like, you know what it's like. You walk in a room, you can barely hear yourself, let alone anybody else. And everybody's playing, so I sat down, and it was part of my contract obligation, so I sit down and I play. And about 1 hour later, I get up to leave. But the guy in front of me stops me before I can go, and he turns to me and he says, "You've been in this class for an hour. I've listened to everything you've done. You played on every song. You didn't miss a single note, and you didn't play a single song we were playing." Because everyone's going, I'm going,
That's me.
You just finding your way because music, it comes, it's get your 1 and your 5 and your 8, 1, 4, 5. It's like, okay, these are like that circle I was telling you about. They're here and they're here and they're here. It's like all this other stuff. So, and I think one of the salient points that I'm trying to get at is that in those moments, I could hear myself because I was the only one playing. I was the only kid on the playground. I wasn't banging it out so 50 feet away from me, the hammer dulcimers could hear me that I was doing. But certainly had I been plugged in or amplified, I could have been doing that. But the whole idea is that I was there for my enjoyment, not just to fulfill the terms of a contract, but to be there with a group of people who play on their tunes, and red-haired boy and over the waterfall and flop-haired mule and kick that chicken and all those tunes. It's like I've already played them thousands and thousands of times, so I wanted something different. So anyway, we're going to look at Reuben's Train and the idea of a syncopated pathway back to the tune here. It goes, and it's me, oh my, Reuben, where you been so long? And it's me, oh my, Reuben, where you been so long? So basically, I stepped down the other side of that descent of that passage. Now I got to check my time here. Where are we from 11 to noon? Is that where we're at here in this class? Okay, I do believe. Yeah, we're supposed to go from 11 to noon, right? So we're right at that noon spot. So I want to leave you with this final thing I put down at the bottom, and that is the circle of fifths. If you haven't learned it, learn it. And the easy way to learn it is with the mnemonic: fried chicken, good dinner, ate every bit. Try that with me. Fried chicken, good dinner, ate every bit. That tells you where any one of those is your key tone. Let's say fried chicken. Let's say C is your key. To the left of it, fried chicken, your F is your fourth. chicken. Good is your fifth. So you can go to that thing and say, the song that we're playing, if they say, we're playing in D, you go, fried chicken, good dinner, A. A's the fifth, and G is the fourth, and you can find your way into the song that way. Okay, quick recap. Moving bars, using that arpeggiated picking, find a way to use it. Don't strum all the time. Find some place to come up on your strokes, and find a little syncopation in your tune, because sometimes that syncopation just gives you the vamp. One last thing, you can actually put your fingers down on the very edge. Hear what I'm doing right here? And then we'll sign off so you can get off to your other class. And you'll get then a muffled sound that I was using last night in the concert. Okay, what's happening? I'm just dampening all the strings as I go through. Okay, well, I think that may be all the time we have time for. If I read my sheet correctly, we go from 11 to noon, is that right? So 11 to noon my time is 12:02. You probably have about 14 minutes to get to your next class. So I thank you for taking the time to take a look at some of these techniques. I hope that you can incorporate the ones, throw out the ones you don't like. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know where his head was at, but this one's pretty cool. And your playing, I trust, will be the better for it. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.